thought I was special and I was the only one that got the thing
Got
that
it.
got to
I got it
make
too.
it. Okay, thanks, Francine. Now I feel like I'm not unique anymore. So
No, you are. We are all unique.
oh yeah. Okay. So why don't we put up the first slide? It's a very unique topic tonight. It really is. It is a very, very special topic that we selected. And butterflies, soaring symbolism. And I just have to say that looking at this gorgeous graphic just makes my day just so happy. So I love this. And we have a lot of little butterflies on this graphic. And speaking of which, we know that we say a blessing when we see a butterfly, and we acknowledge the beauty of God's creation when we do that. And so perhaps somebody would like to read the blessing for us in either language. It doesn't matter. Pick your language. And if we have a volunteer, Nina, please let them know.
Yes, before that, I have to admit two people. I'm sorry. Hold on. Admit all. Okay, that's the only trouble when I go full screen. Sorry. I'm trying to admit this person. I'm sorry, you guys.
Well, I'll read the blessing right now while Nina's doing the admission.
Thanks, Lori. That's great.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, creator of the universe, who makes the work of creation. Baruch atah Hashem Eloheinu melech haolam oseh ma'aseh bereshit.
Thank you very much. So we're acknowledging the word creation in Bereshit, and who makes the works of creation. So it is a very special blessing that we have, that we acknowledge God's presence in everything, including the beauty of nature and the creation of the butterflies. So as we go forward, and yeah, okay, wait, hang on one second. Okay. So we know that there are more than 160,000 species of butterflies and moths, and around 2,300 are found in Israel. And I didn't know that just off the top of my head. So we had to do a little research on that. And the reason that plays out like that is that it has to do with the geographical location of Israel, because Israel is at the juncture of Asia, Africa, and Europe. So we're going to read a story, The Cocoon and the Butterfly, and we'll go from there. So can I have a reader on the story, or even two
I will.
readers?
I'll
Okay.
read it, Rabbi.
Go ahead, Francine. Thank you.
Yeah. The Cocoon and the Butterfly, author unknown. One day, a butterfly lover saw a cocoon with a tiny opening. It meant that the butterfly was trying to make its way out to enjoy the world. He decided to watch and observe the butterfly struggling to break out for several hours. Even after continuous attempts, there was no progress. It seemed that the butterfly had tried its best and could not try anymore. The man decided to help the butterfly. He got a pair of scissors and cut the cocoon just a little bit to make a larger opening for the butterfly. Then the butterfly emerged without any struggle. Unfortunately, it no longer looked beautiful. It had a swollen body with small and withered wings. The man was happy that he had made the butterfly come out of the cocoon without any more struggles. He continued to watch the butterfly and was quite eager to see it fly. Unfortunately, the butterfly just crawled around with withered wings and a huge body. It was never able to fly. Although the man acted with a good intention, he did not know that only by going through struggles can the butterfly emerge to be beautiful and strong. If we don't want to undergo any struggle, we won't be able to fly.
Thank you so much. That was so beautifully read and such a heartfelt story. It really is Dan, you're suffering with this story. I see it on your face. It's really a sad story. My heart is a little broken. I mean,
Yeah, no, I love it.
It's a beautiful story. And, we have the
Yeah.
symbol of the cocoon, which symbolizes the transformation that the butterfly goes through. And we have some questions on the story. It's quite a story. It really is. It's actually just a very moving story. So thinking about the story and about what the person with the full heart and good intention did, trying to help, trying to make it better. Have you ever stood back and let somebody struggle and become strong? And what did it feel like to step back and not cut the the cocoon there, as in the story? I mean, what is it like to watch somebody struggle through a process in order to come out on the other side of it? Any thoughts, anyone? Dan?
I, as a parent, and I think most parents can identify with that scene, and having to just let the child learn by making mistakes, but it can be hard.
Yeah, thank you. That was such a heartfelt answer. Anyone have any other thoughts? Can you think of any, Barbara?
That's exactly what the thought that came to me, that when you have to, you don't even know how, but sometimes you have to let your kids, or you want to help, you always want to fix, you always want to help, but sometimes you just have to watch your kids go through something very, very hard to grow, or just there's nothing that you could do anyway, and you kind of have to go through it with them, and it's very hard. Something else, of the million crazy things I know in my head, the Hebrew word for butterfly is parpar. Parpar nechmad means lovely butterfly, which in the 1980s was a very cute children's cartoon for many years of the 1980s and 90s. Kids grew up in Israel, or if you ever saw it here, if you had family that had it for you on internet. Parpar nechmad, lovely butterfly.
Thank you for that piece of teaching. Thank you very much. Stephen, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm a retired therapist and spent a lot of time in my practice watching people struggle, but I also had a trust in the process that they knew what was best for them and that I was there to guide, but to do nothing else.
Yeah. And I think I can join you in that as a therapist of many years myself. It's really painful almost to watch the struggle, but you know they'll come out on the other side, and hopefully it'll be in a better place. And you can only sit in the quiet and hope for that. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Lon, I
That's
see
true.
you.
I was going to say, I think Thomas Edison once said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. In other words, you have to fail in order to succeed. You have to struggle, because then it makes the success even more. If you talk to any athlete, the amount of time that they have to put in to do what they have to do is almost 6 to 7 hours a day that they have to practice, and some of them need even more. So it takes a lot of commitment, and most of the time you don't succeed, and you learn from your failure, but you have to move on. So I think you can only be successful only when you failed.
Yeah, and I think maybe sometimes for some the success is sweet because the failure, came along the way. Barbara, I see you, and I thank you, Lon, for your example of the athletes, because I just was sitting here thinking of all of them, because I've been like glued to the TV watching the Olympics every day, every minute of every day, and seeing what the struggles were and hearing the stories of a lot of the athletes that they've told about their struggles and how they failed and picked themselves up and gone forward. So, we have Simone Biles' story, but she's just one of many. Barbara?
Yes, I just real quick, I meant to say about that TV show, it was more than that. What I meant to say was that it was about life situations for little kids, much in the way if you have little kids and you watch Daniel Tiger, the Neighborhood, where they attempt to solve problems, or they they show the kids in all these things where they're failing, they're struggling, and then they learn how to do something, or they learn that they couldn't do it, all kinds of situations, and getting along with other people. But it applies just very much to this. I didn't say it as well as I wanted to. Thank you.
And Dan put in the chat, I've succeeded because I failed. Is that what you put in there? I just, grabbed that up real quick.
Yeah, Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yvonne? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the issue that I see with the story is, of course, we have to allow ourselves and others to fail, but the intention of doing good things, mitzvot and tikkun olam, are such strong values in Judaism and many religions, of course. So where do we draw the line of when we should help and when we shouldn't help? I mean, that's the conflict that I see in the story, because the intention was good. We are taught in our cultures to go forward and assist the poor and the widow and everyone. In perspective, we see, oh, okay, I had a failure and that helped me. But when and how do we decide when help is needed and when help is not? So that's a little bit the conflict that I see, because the story, of course, has the point of view of the butterfly, but it also has the point of view of the person that tried to help. Which is what we expect. We don't expect to be pathetic and ignore, the suffering of others. So for me, it's a little bit deeper in that sense, not just leave it, because if you help, maybe you're not helping the development, but when to help them, because we are taught we have to assist our
No, you're right. I
fellow.
think that's a really good point, because how do we know where to draw the boundary? I mean, it's always about boundaries, and it's about balance, and how do you, make that determination? So I think that you bring up a very good point. And I guess, speaking personally, I'll turn the question to each of you. Have you ever had a personal struggle, and has it strengthened you? And how have you come out on the other side of that personal struggle? Maybe you didn't succeed, maybe you succeeded, but what was the process like? I mean, for myself, it's excruciating when you're going through a personal struggle. It could be really excruciating. And how do you come out on the other side of it? And are you in a better place, or have you suffered and not gotten, to where you need to be? Lon, I see your little hand up there, your yellow signal there.
You're muted.
My personal experience was, I was in a car accident in 2005. And after the car accident, I could not walk. I had to learn how to walk again. And it was difficult. And I had 2 surgeries, one in my hip, one in my foot. And I had to learn how to get up out of bed, how to get into a chair, how to get out of a chair, how to walk. And eventually, my wife and I were in a car accident together. It took us 6 months. We walked out of there with a cane. And I've been using a walker now since that time. But to give you an idea, I had cellulitis and just recently, and I had to have home therapy for 6 months. And then I said, let's go to water therapy. So right now I'm doing water therapy, which has been a godsend. And the lady has been saying, I'm doing that for like 2 months now. She's saying, what a difference you have made every time. So she sees the advances I have made, but in the beginning I couldn't do anything in the pool with the water therapy. And gradually I'm getting stronger and stronger, and my core and my feet and my arms are getting much stronger. And she's saying, that you know, we're gonna each week we're gonna increase the degree of difficulty. So what I'm saying is you've got to have the motivation, and you've got to have the right people with you, encouraging you when you have these problems that you have to go through.
Thank you for sharing that personal experience. I think, you know, for these things, a team makes it better. You know, if you have a team behind you, you have a support network, a net around you, it really helps in so many different ways. And I appreciate your story very much. I'm glad it's having a happy outcome. So, yeah, thank you. Others before we go forward a little bit. And Nina, I'm counting on you to watch the screen because I can't see. But
Well, when it's this full screen, I can't see it, but that's all right because shout out. Just don't feel shy.
so we'll go on to text 3 and share that. And, you know, as a little bit of an introduction, just to say that, you know, the butterflies have been used as symbols for children murdered in the Holocaust and now the hostages that are held by Hamas. They symbolize the essence of liberation and, you know, the journey from darkness to light. I mean, they do take us literally, if you know, think of the story of the butterfly in the cocoon, from a dark place of tightness and being closed up and constrained to a place of opening into freedom and beauty and looking at, you know, being in the world around. So there's a poem that we'd like to share by Pavel Friedman, who wrote this poem in the Theresienstadt concentration camp in 1942. And in 1944, in September, he was deported to Auschwitz, where he was unfortunately murdered. So if we have a reader for this text, I would appreciate it.
Daniel Berrick raised his hand.
Okay, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was the reason, one of the big reasons I joined I wanted to sign up for this webinar. You know, Butterfly, I thought, yeah, Pavel Friedman, Terezin.
Yes.
When I first read it, the poem, you know, I was really, you know, taken by it. So I'm glad I have the honor of, you know, reading
Thank you.
the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow, perhaps if the sun's tears would sing against the white stone. Such a yellow it carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. I have found my people here. The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut candles in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
Thank you, Dan. So beautifully read. Thank you for reading that for us. So Pavel Friedman talks about feeling penned up, you know, the concept of feeling trapped in. And have you ever in your life felt that way? Maybe not in the same way as the writer, but in your own world, have you ever felt penned up or trapped? And what was that like? And you know, and could you move from that dark place to a place of light? And what was helpful? Nina, if you see names, just, you know, call who you see because I don't have everybody.
Dan and Tina both have their hands up.
Okay.
Dan, yeah.
Sorry, Tina, you go ahead. I forgot to lower my hand, so.
Oh, okay, Dan. Okay.
Well, I used to live in a big city. I felt pent up all the time. And no, I didn't see any butterflies. I've seen a lot of crying and a lot of things that especially young people shouldn't see, you know, growing up in a big city. And when I became an adult, what I did about it was leave the big city. So I just, you know, that's it.
But that's great. I mean, you were able to move from one place to the other and leave the darkness to go to a place of more light and more freedom. So thank
Right.
you very much. That's a
Because a
lovely
lot of
sharing.
people I went to school with, some of them weren't so lucky. Some of them went to prison. Some of them got killed. And I always had that in the back of my head. It's not your environment. God made me. I don't have to live like this. This is just a city, and I got out. So happy.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to share if you've ever felt penned up or trapped, and how did you move out of that place? It could be in a relationship, it could be where you live, like Tina gave an example. It could be in a job that you've done that you maybe felt trapped in and didn't like it. It could have been in something you've studied, for your career, in a relationship. I mean, there are so many different ways to move with this. Ellie?
So I don't think it's quite like Tina's, but when I was pregnant with my last child, I was in the hospital from the time I was 6 weeks pregnant till I was 16 weeks pregnant on IV, and really feeling sick. And I really didn't know whether I would maintain the pregnancy. It was in a room, and it was on the same floor as the obstetrics. So everybody's walking around with their babies. I didn't quite want to do that. And so I was stuck in this hospital room for 10 weeks, and it was awful, and didn't know what was going to transpire. And then, thank God, everything calmed down, and I was able to go home and have my child. But for those 10 weeks, it was feeling very penned in.
How did you get through each day? Were you able to, did anything help you have some light in your day?
The ultrasounds. They would literally do an ultrasound every 4th or 5th day, not for medical reasons, but for my psychological being. If I saw things, I saw some growth or whatever, it gave me some hope.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that difficult time. Barbara?
Yes, I thank you. I did not know if you want to go there, but yeah, over the years, there are times when I simply have felt trapped in my own family in bad situations that I was not equipped to know how to make better or get myself or anyone else out of, and just had to bear up and keep hoping for ways that would come along, or that I could grow or think enough to come up with ways that would make things better for myself and for the others. And that's it. But since you said that word relationship, I said I'll be brave, but I didn't exactly know if we should say that. Thank you.
No, that's absolutely appropriate. And I think, we need to figure out in situations that are difficult how to get creative and how to rely on ourselves as well as others who are, helping us from the outside. How do we move forward and do that when every minute of a day seems like an hour or a lifetime? I mean, how do you move to a place of more light when the place is dark? And I think it's really, it is applicable to so many situations. And I wonder, in talking about ourselves, have you ever seen it going on for somebody else? Were you ever a friend to somebody, or, a family member or a colleague at work who you saw going through a difficult time, and, and were you able to help them at all?
I saw that I saw that happening with happening with my daughter. She lives in Florida, and she's a single mom and fights with depression and anxiety and has a difficult time. And there are times when she has the dark nights of the soul, and she'll like lose contact for a number of weeks or so, and then she'll kind of pop out of it. And I just, I really honor her struggle, and I'm there for her, but I can't really make it go away or anything else. And I have to just kind of realize what my boundaries are, but I'm definitely there for her and through her struggles.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for that. You know, I think about people who are helpful, and I'm on the other side of that at this point, although I'm the facilitator, but this is a very dark time for my husband and myself because he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. And he's, you know, we've struggled through waiting for a biopsy, waiting for a PET scan, you know, waiting. And I think about how difficult it's been over the past 6 weeks to be in a really dark place where you can't move. You know, you're just stuck. You can't make time move any faster. You can't make your results be different. You can't really do anything on behalf of yourself until the process sort of goes through. And so for me, I think of the people who have watched us struggle through this over the past couple of months and how they have suffered with us and told us they were suffering with us and how they have tried to make things better and what they've said and things they've written and sent us and cards and prayers. And so I think about it from the other side of it in asking the question that I just asked is, you know, what does it feel like to be on the receiving end of that for all of those kind things that people do? And how today somebody showed up at my door this afternoon at 2 o'clock with a bouquet of flowers. And she said, I wanted to bring these to you because today is a very hard day for you, because my husband had gone into the city to meet with, you know, another specialist. And she said, I thought you could use this to brighten your day. And so, you know, that's just one of an example of so many people who have done so many little things. And I think if we think about individual situations, how are we the ones that bring one small thing to somebody, a card that we send or a phone call that we make or the flowers that we bring? And how does that change the darkness to add that light? You know, like those ultrasounds that you were talking about, they brought in some light at very hard times. Allison, I see you.
I think, yeah, I'm done eating my popcorn. You can see me now. Thank you. So, Reb Deb, I thank you for sharing. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
There's several times in my life I struggled with some serious medical things, and ultimately they went to my emotions and in my head. So then I struggled with that too. And I believe I was waking up each day when I went through the events, wanting a different reality. And each day just being upset because I wasn't getting a different reality.
Yeah.
And I was pushing away, you know, thoughts of hope. I just got stuck, and having family members, or at one point my father would call me each day just to listen. I wasn't alone, but ultimately it took myself to get out of it, making conscious choices to make baby steps, because it all comes down to me. I could pray for help. I can pray for a different reality, but it was in myself that I needed to make a change. Yeah. And each time it's hard, but there's a list. One of the times that Simone Biles won her award, and she was interviewed recently for one of her medals, and she had talked about Maya Angelou. Her Simone saying is "Still I Rise." I might have just, you know, gotten some of the words wrong, but "Still I Rise," and it's a choice for me. No matter how hard things are or ugly, what can I do to rise? And then you mentioned when someone helps us, the opportunities to help someone else. I think I'm strong, but I don't think what I have gone through for events in my own life have made me stronger. But I think it opened my eyes toward other people going through similar things. And my understanding, I can't fix it. I can't tell them what to do, but I can be there. And it's kind of powerful just being there for people. You mentioned flowers, that's someone being there for you. They can't fix it, make it go away, give a different reality. But I'm sensitive to the fact of when I can be there. And my last thing to share is something, I don't know what sermon or holiday or event, my rabbi from my temple how important it is to not just give and help people, but it ultimately to help people to help themselves.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
personally, it hurts me greatly when someone just says, just do this because I'm telling you to. It doesn't help me.
Right.
It just
Mhm.
knocks me down. Help me to help myself. And it works with my children too. Typical Jewish mother, I hurt when they hurt and I want to save them.
Yeah.
But ultimately I can lead them, but they have to make the same choices I have when I'm struggling medically or emotionally or mentally, that I have to make the choices myself.
You know, I wanted to interrupt you for a second because you brought up something very important a couple of sentences back, and before I lose it, I want to bring it in, which is witnessing, which is really, you know, sometimes you can't change it, but you can be a witness. And, you know, witnesses not only remember what they see, sometimes more accurately than the person who's having the experience because they're wrapped up in the experience, but witnesses carry a memory and witnesses carry a process. What someone is, you know, experiencing, they are present in that from point to point to point to witness that and reflect back on that and hold of some of that. And I think that that's really an important point that you made. So I wanted to thank you for everything you contributed.
Rabbi Deb,
yeah.
Thank you so much. How many times have people say, I didn't call or I didn't do because I was afraid to say the wrong thing?
Yeah.
I'd rather say the wrong thing. I'd rather be there and say something stupid and to be there. And to me, that's more important than getting the words right. But thank
Yeah,
you for that.
presence is everything. So
Thank you
thank you
very much.
Allison.
Thank you.
Nina, are we able to put up the next slide? Because I can't tell if I missed anybody.
Yeah, I don't see anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, hello.
Let's.
Do you hear me?
Not to
David,
Yes,
yes, yeah,
yes.
we can, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, good, yeah.
Okay. I first of all, what Allison said is very important. That it's better to be there and not be there. And even if you say something that's inappropriate or is confusing, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'd like to say Sharon Brous wrote a book. She's a rabbi in Los Angeles, The Amen Effect. And she talks about, and I might not get this story correct, and I stand to be corrected, but she talks about a story where in the temple, people would come into the courtyard at particular point, at particular times, and people to the right would be there to help people, and people to the left who would go left would form, and there were two circles, and people would recognize one another, and a person could talk about a problem or a challenge that they have, and the other person would respond, even by nodding, accepting that where that person is. And if anybody ever gets a chance to read the book, The Amen Effect, I think it's very helpful, and it jives into what Allison just said about being present, and what Rabbi Deb said about presence is everything. And I think it's very important. I know in my own life, 2 years ago, our temple president died all of a sudden, and we were all very shaken by it. And when I went to the shiva, I had said to one of the family members something that my wife thought was inappropriate, but at least I said it. And afterwards, I felt guilty because I gave a little bit of my theology, saying, well, my point, God really isn't involved personally to take people, okay? And I kind of have a deist opinion. So Diaz being that Voltaire was a big inspiration of that people, God sets up the world and then the world runs, okay, or the divine element. And my wife was just very mad at me because I shouldn't have said it, okay, but at least I was there, okay, and okay, I know I said a lot, so
Thank you, David. Lori?
So I was recently traveling for a few months, and one of the things we did was we were in Denmark, actually in Copenhagen, and they have something there called a human library, and you sign up so that you can be present, and you schedule a half an hour of time, and you sign up, and you just go meet someone, and you talk, and they look at it as an opportunity. So they call it a human library. It's an international organization, and it's a way of lending presence to other people who need to be heard. And certainly I'm engaging with them, but my purpose of being there for that 30 minutes is for them to be heard. And I can interact and share, but it's not for my 30 minutes to be talking and telling them, right? So you're part of a human library. And that's a really fun thing if you happen to be in Copenhagen.
Wow.
That's spectacular. Thank you for sharing that. Nina, can we have text 4 with the necklace?
Sure can.
Okay, we have jewelry in the next text. So.
Yeah. Hold on. This is very cool.
Okay, this is a gorgeous teaching. And this is a convertible piece of jewelry. It's a Star of David butterfly necklace that has a magnetic closure. So you can wear the necklace either looking like the Star of David or as a chain of butterflies on the bottom. So in the time of the Spanish Inquisition, converts to Catholicism who were secretly continued to practice their Jewish faith would wear a butterfly necklace like this, which formed a Star of David when it was closed, but when open just looked like butterflies. So it's a great a gift, and a very meaningful piece of our tradition and our culture. So we wanted to include that text and ask some questions about it. And the question I would ask is, how would you wear the necklace, particularly in the times we're living in today? And how does your answer reflect how you feel about being outwardly Jewish in today's anti-Semitic climate? So as a Jew, what would you do with this necklace today? Which way would you wear it? Stephen? Whoop, you're muted. You're muted. Just unmute.
I would wear it. I would wear it as the Star of David. In fact, ever since all of the anti-Semitic stuff has been happening, I've been actually wearing my Star of David outside my shirt as opposed to inside my shirt, because I think it's important to just declare who you are. But I think the concept of the butterflies with an open is really, really nice.
Yeah, it's really striking. Others, how would you wear the necklace?
Lon has his hand up.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I didn't see you. Sorry, Lon. Go ahead.
Okay, I would wear it outside, just like David said, because each individual should be proud of their heritage. And you have to show that you won't stand for anybody who is prejudicial. The other thing I want to tell you is I wear a necklace that the rabbi got for me, and people admire it, and it says, "Bring them home." It's about the refugees. And so if people are saying, how do you get that necklace? Because we would like to wear it too. So you wear it in public and you make a statement basically saying that you would support those people. So I think the necklace shows your identity, except unfortunately during the Inquisition, they had to hide it, because if they showed it, they were killed.
Yeah.
They were tortured. They were, and then when they were caught pretending, they were still tortured and they were still killed. So they had no choice whether they did it as a butterfly or they did it out in the open. The government, basically said, "Get out of the country. We don't want you here." And of course, that's what happened. But it's in our country, we're very lucky that we have the freedom of speech that we do, but and we have, you know, and we should be proud of that we have this, that most countries don't have it. And I think we take that for granted.
Thank you. Thank you, Lon. Norma and then Ellie.
Good evening, everyone. I find that I wear the biggest Magen David or Chai that I have every day. I live in redneck country, and my goal in life is to educate people, regardless of belief of religion or otherwise. And as a volunteer in the community, and as a Jew, I now have been getting calls because I'm the resident Jewess and they want to know the answers. I just got invited to a bat mitzvah. What do I do? Somebody died who's Jewish. What do I do? So at least my goal is to work to educate rather than to provoke. And I have gotten into trouble with it, but I've been in trouble before with a lot of things, so it makes no difference. I'm still here, and Hashem has given me the opportunity to keep doing what I'm doing.
Keep it on. You got it, Norma. Go ahead, Ellie.
So
Open
I
or close?
actually wear
Yeah.
my Star of David, my Bring Them Home, my we shall dance again, and my Map of Israel. Actually, this chain is getting very heavy every day. I've been wearing it since I think I got the first pendant, you know, almost 10 months ago. And I have been asked questions. You know, people in stores have asked me what it is, and I keep it out and I explain. But it's also been interesting. I don't know if you know the term bageling, but you know, sometimes you're in an airport or something and somebody comes up and they figure out you're Jewish and they're Jewish, and the term is, oh, you're bageling. And so I've had all kinds of Jewish people come up to me that I didn't know were Jewish. And we've been able to, you know, talk about our feelings and everything. So I wear mine out proudly. And I'm very excited that my 18-year-old grandson wanted me to get him a Star of David, and I did, and he's wearing it proudly. And thirdly, I just Amazon sells those Star of Davids that open up to become butterflies.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, I just looked on Amazon and they have them.
oh, good to know if anyone is interested in that. I mean, I'm curious with everything that people have shared. What do you think, both in the past and today? Why was a butterfly chosen for this piece of jewelry, do you think? I mean, it's just a matter of opinion. Why do you think the choice was made for that? Alon, your hand is up. I don't know if it's up from before or up anew, but I'm going to call on Yvonne right now. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Okay, the question that you just posed, I think it's symbolic of freedom, or of evolving personally, emotionally, of resurrection in the sense of, you know, from nothing to a beautiful thing of creation. In regards to what would I wear, I never wore, for some reason, Star of David's or signs, and if I analyze it, I think I know where it comes from. As I mentioned yesterday, my parents and grandparents were Holocaust survivors from Hungary, and my grandfather, when he saw the situation, he was in Bulgaria at the time when the Nazis started invading. He tried to convert all the family into Protestants, thinking that, you know, okay, I'm gonna save the family. So of course, the Nazis, Hitler did not care about that. nor that he had served as a first officer in World War I, as a Hungarian that he thought would save him. So all that did not work. When he arrived in Uruguay, where I was born in South America, they didn't want to go back to Hungary. My grandfather was shunned from the community. The Jewish community really did not accept him. They knew about the story that he wanted to convert and judged him. And we still have a letter, the letter that he received, that must have been in 47, from the Uruguayan, from the Montevideo, Jewish community, judging him, which we always say, wow, how can you judge someone of what they're doing? But that takes me to the signs and to the to some of the traditions. This grandfather was very influential, so that my parents did not marry in a synagogue. They married. He was so traumatized that he didn't want anyone to be marked. When my brother was born, the firstborn in the family, he was not circumcised either.
Mhm.
He was just too scared and too traumatized. And we spoke yesterday a little bit about the trauma that's passing. So I wonder if unconsciously, he passed that we never wore things. We lived in Israel, we know Hebrew, we teach
Right.
about the Holocaust, we do other things, but we do not wear the signs. And maybe it comes from this trauma that maybe we inherited at this generation.
That's such an interesting story. Thank you. It was really, I found it very meaningful. I just want to stop for 1 second because I'm aware we have one text left that I know Nina wants to teach, and I'm looking at my watch. So tell me, Nina, do I call on more people or do you want to take the text up? Because it's a musical text.
If there's anyone who has something to say, I think we have enough time. I cut it down. The text is just 1 minute. So
okay. All right.
I just wanted to say one thing. When you look at a caterpillar, people say, well, it's really, really ugly. It's a disgusting animal. When they look at the butterfly, they say how beautiful it is. So it's just, I think the butterfly is an example of a metamorphosis. So as a person, it shows you, it beautifies the surroundings. People look at it and it's a symbol of hope and struggle. And I think you choose a butterfly because it's undergone this metamorphosis, it's undergone this struggle, and it succeeded. So that's why I think the butterfly is chosen, because it goes through struggling, it goes through a change, and it's for the good. And people look at it and say, wow, I can be good just like a butterfly.
Thank you for your answer to that question. That answers it beautifully. Thank you so much. And David, and then we'll go to the text, Nina, we'll go to your text.
Perfect. We have time.
Okay. One of the questions that I have about the star and butterfly brings this to mind. In the year 2000, the majority of Americans in popular vote voted for a Jewish candidate to be vice president. Okay, majority. In 2024, could that happen again? And is there based on a time, and I don't want to get into politics, etc., but I really had a lot of discussions with people because there was a Jewish candidate in the last 2 days, and was it the time for there to be a Jewish candidate on the ticket based on some greater good, that if being Jewish was going to be a negative and hurt more important things to happen, to wait for another time? And it's kind of something that that I have lived. And I heard the preponderance of responses here. You wear the star, you're proud of it, and you go forward. Yet I listened to Yvonne and the trauma, and I think there's some credence to that too, and to avoid trauma. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your comments on these difficult questions. And I want to turn this over to Nina, who really picked this next text very carefully and put a lot of time into it. So please go ahead.
So we had our whole webinar figured out. And then, I don't know, I was walking around the other day and this song kept playing in my head and it had the word butterflies in it. And I thought about it and I thought about it and I decided to include it. It's Woodstock, written by Joni Mitchell. And I was looking for a nice recording of it, but I ended up with the Crosby, Stills and Nash version because it moved faster. And I never realized how long a song it was, so I only took out a little bit, the part with the butterflies. So I'm going to share that, and we have some questions that go with that too. I have to turn this different. Okay. And everybody please mute except for, me. Hold on. Am I sharing the right thing, or are you seeing the other screen? I think you're seeing the other screen. Hold on.
We're just on a blank screen, Nina. We could hear the music, but not see anything.
That's what I thought. I'm going to get the right one.
Okay. If you folks mute up, it will help her sound quality. That's why she's asking us all to mute.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Now, can you see it? Thumbs up if you can see it. Okay.
Yes.
Shotgun in the sky, turning into butterflies above our nation. We are stars, we are devil's water, and we got to get ourselves back to the
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
So some questions about the lyrics of the song. What do you think butterflies represent in this text? And I'm going to take one or two answers of each because I want to make sure we get through the three questions that Nina put together for her musical text here. What are the symbolism of the butterflies here? Any thoughts?
I think it's peace and love.
Okay. I would tend to agree with you. Anybody else have an answer for that? The butterflies? We got a thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if it was like the hope for peace.
Oh, okay.
That they were, I don't recall when the song was exactly written, but the imagery to me, brought the Vietnam War and
Yeah.
napalm, but trying to return to our roots, our basic goodness, and
Yeah.
in the face of this terrible evil.
Yeah, thank you. We have two other questions, but I want to put them out there. That way people can answer whichever, question speaks to them. What is the devil's bargain that appears in the lyrics to the song? And in what way can the words of the song be relevant today? So what do the butterflies represent in the text? What's the devil's bargain that's referred to in the lyrics? And how can the words of the song be relevant today? Choose any one or all that you may want to answer, but please be brief. We have 3 minutes left. So I can take a couple of comments, but they need to be very brief.
I see Barbara and I see Tina. Barbara and Tina.
Go ahead, Barb.
Okay. And I am partial to the Joni Mitchell. But I think the thing that follows where it says, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden, is important. And the gentleman before me just said that word roots is that we have to get back to where we started and to where it was beautiful and to where we can learn from where we should go and also enjoy where we are, all of those things. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Nina, who else was?
Tina had her hand up
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
I think the butterflies represent the beautiful Jewish people. And how God wants you to go back to the garden and not be the devil's advocate, like the bargain. They always blame the Jewish people. Anybody who love God and try to live good is a threat. So I just think the butterflies, they do represent Jewish people. I think you guys are so beautiful.
We thank you. We thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have to put it here. I'll just run in. Oh, thank you, Dan. So I played this for my husband. I was actually doing this in the car as we were driving last night home. And I said, "What do you think of when you hear this?" And he said, "I feel very cynical because we remember what we felt like then and what the world is like now." And I understood that. And part of the reason I wanted to include it was because we're all older and wiser. And I think that we still have to try to find a way to get back to that garden.
Yeah, I think it's in these times we live in, people are searching for the garden. And, you know, the doors to the garden are open. If we could figure out how to get back there, you know, we would be welcomed back into the garden. So it's, you know, it's a message of, I think, of longing and of cynicism, maybe a little bit of hope, of you know, of desire to return. And it's very timely because I think desire to return and returning and turning is very much a Jewish theme as we enter into particularly this time of the year, as we move, you know, into Tisha B'Av and into, you know, into the time of Elul and getting ready for the holidays, which are not that far away. You know, if you're a rabbi and you're counting like I am, I can tell you how many days, not how many hours, but it's enough. So I would like to thank you for having that as a closing text. And I would like to thank everyone for coming and participating in what I think was an awesome community event tonight. I really had a great time. And yeah, so thank you everyone for coming. And do we have any other, you know, encouragements for future programs? Nina, put them out there. We got a full house. We can capture.
So one of the things you were talking about tonight, Reb Deb, was, or someone was saying how you can be a witness.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me.
Right? And tomorrow night we have a wonderful speaker. She wrote a book. Her name is Alyssa Felder. And she wrote a book From One Life to the Next Life. And it's about, she lost a child when he was 4 months old. This happened like he would be in his 40s now, easily.
Right.
But her journey and how what she learned from Jewish traditions about death and the afterlife and how she dealt with her grief. And it's a really interesting book. And one of the things she said was that her friends would just sit with her. They couldn't help her, but they were just there. And if you're interested in a really spiritual and beautiful, not that this one wasn't, you guys are amazing. If you'd like to have another wonderful experience, come tomorrow at 7:30. And
I just registered. You too can register. I just registered while Nina was putting it out there. So
multitasking. Good job.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.